Hi, my name's Jocelyn Ireland, and this is a conversation with Nasso. Welcome, Nasso.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. So let's start out with a little brief history about yourself. How did you get started in the art world?
Well, history-wise, in the physical sense, I'm a product of an orphan mother and a Greek immigrant father. And from that, many travels to Europe, Greece, of course, Alaska, Southern California. And through all that, you come out many years later and you become an artist, which is kind of tough to embrace because to be an artist these days is not always an easy venture.
Yes, seems like throughout time it's been a bit of a struggle to be an artist.
Well, the way society is structured today, with the porn of Wall Street, put it that way, if you're not making money and if you're not consuming, and I don't do either of those all that well actually, that kind of leaves you one avenue, that's to be creative.
So how did you get involved in art? I mean, you mentioned the travels and, you know, lots of beauty around the world.
Well, okay, my mom had a stepsister, my Aunt Lonnie, who I think, I don't think I know for a fact, was very pivotal in all of us, myself and my sisters. She's the one who instilled the notion, the belief that it's not only good to be an artist, but it's way cool. I mean, she made it, even as a kid, you understood that it was a great thing to do. It was an undertaking that you embraced, you know, and somehow through the years, as you get older, you kind of lose that sense, and as you get older, you kind of rediscover it. And her name was Lonnie. It was Chicago back in the late 60s, and we would just spend hours and hours drawing and trying to impress her. That was always the big thing. And if you got kudos from Lonnie, but she was always so, you know, sincere in her, you know, remarks to us. It was just, it was easy. So that was the genesis, more or less. And I think my real essential bearings, if you like, were developed in Greece, growing up as a kid. I was raised on the eastern coast of Attica, right off the Aegean Sea. Spent many hours by myself with the water. And Greece back in the 60s and early 70s was a place where, you know, seeds were planted for sure. And I don't think they manifested themselves until much later, but in your psyche, in your soul, at least for me, it was, that was the beginning. And I think as far as color, texture, like I said, the sensuality of painting, somehow I tie into the Greek waters, the Greek hills, foraging for wild greens. Cast of characters were many, including my parents. And it's just something that you bring with you through the years.
Well, that seems very special, and what a great place to form, you know, such a unique bond with someone. As far as influences, aside from Lonnie, you had mentioned, and the coastal environment, I do notice you have a lot of female form in a lot of your work. Is there a certain muse or someone that really you tap into?
Aside from loving women and just adoring the heck out of them?
There you
go. No, I just think that painting is all about lines, and of course the female figure can be juxtaposed any which way, and can be interpreted as being a woman, and sometimes obviously and sometimes more subtly. But seriously, as an artist, I mean, look back to the years and years through the ages, and women are there front and center, you
Definitely.
know. But as far as being inspired in some other facet, in the actual technical sense, no. For me, it's been through a school of osmosis. Like I said, we traveled quite a bit as a family, and I think it's something that was innate in me and fostered by my aunt and my parents. My dad was an architect. And it's just something that your sense of style develops through the years, and I don't think I have one muse, but maybe a few muses.
All right. Now, as far as mediums or, different textures, is there a particular medium that you prefer to use, or?
As far as mediums, I gravitate towards acrylic paints because they're very forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
I like painting wet. That means wet paint on wet paint. I like mixing and matching. I'll do acrylic and ink, like a mixed media type motif.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for watercolors or even oils for that matter. I have a twin sister. Actually, both my sisters are a lot more patient and detail oriented than I am. I like attacking canvas, and to me, when you do something like that, acrylic paint is, like I said, it lends itself to that kind of approach.
So it seems like you're a very emotional painter. You're very tied in with.
Oh yeah, pent up emotions, maybe frustrations, who knows, all that. I come down here in this cocoon of mine, the studio, and I rarely have a preconceived idea of what it is I'm going to be doing that night. I paint that night. I'm a night person. I'm a beast of the evening. And it's just basically I'm just a conduit of sorts, and God knows where some of this comes from. And the process might involve a color scheme. I might have a color pop in my head, a line, but usually what happens is you push paint. At least I push paint, and the paintings, show themselves to be what they are. They'll start talking to you, believe it or not. Okay, you see which way they want to go. And it's more manipulation than anything else. I work really very quickly, and I use copious amounts of paints. I mean, sometimes it's ridiculous. So my paintings take forever to dry, but it's a cool thing to witness. Paint, if you think about it.
Definitely.
Because until it dries, man, God knows.
So is there, whether directly or indirectly, is there a certain message that you usually feel you convey in a lot of your paintings, or?
Like Sean Beam, my fantastic web designer, I've often told him when we're down here photographing the paintings, I say, Sean, there's one thing I don't want to be, that's boring. And for better or for worse, I try to adhere to that, and I think I succeed because at the end of the night, you're down here by yourself. There's nobody else. You're not here. Nobody else is gonna say, "Man, that's pretty cool." What do you think? It's totally up to you. And if paintings, why be down here if you don't create something sensual? And sensuality can take different forms. It doesn't have to be necessarily, a huge, beautiful breast among the willow trees or something like that. I'm just saying, picking that up out of my head. It could be black and white. It could be a color scheme. Sometimes it's the nuances are there for you to discover. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
As a viewer. So and just like anything, whatever discipline, whether you're filmmaking or a writer, and same thing goes for painters. You don't want to spoon feed people. Let them meet you at least halfway.
So how do you feel your paintings are relevant in today's society or social climate?
Oh man, how are they relevant? Well, again, they're relevant in the sense that they even exist.
There you go.
Okay, like I said before, it's like it's easy to not do anything, and I try to tell people, it's not that hard. People say, how do you do it? I'm like, what? I just show up, and it might sound something like from an athletic company or a shoe brand, but just showing up is a big deal, and putting something of yourself out there. Because getting back to the point of Wall Street and money making and everything else, which I have nothing against, don't get me wrong. Money is a beautiful thing. It's just that if your DNA is not geared towards that, and mine's not, it's more of a creative endeavor, you're giving something. And anytime you give art into this world, you're making a statement. Whether you're heavy-handed, making a political painting or just something that looks nice on somebody's wall. What's wrong with that?
Exactly. And you get to live, it feels like, you get to live through your art eternally.
Yes, thank you very much. Not being a family man, I have no kids. I know for a fact that this is the beginning of a legacy. And only time will tell just what that legacy will mean in the end. But it's a footprint. I'm leaving something behind. And I guess as far as social commentary, 100 years from now, when they dig this interview up and say, wow, that Nasso, he was interesting, he left something behind. And I really admire people that try to do something like that, to keep that in mind. I don't have a family, I don't have kids to raise, which of course is the most obvious way to leave a little bit of yourself behind, but to me these paintings, and I would do more, I would do sculpture and everything else if I had the room, is that legacy.
Now going back to that, do you find yourself wanting to kind of spill over into other disciplines, or? I've studied photography at length. I'm an ex-film major from San Francisco State. Dropped out there to do some independent work from the Film Arts Foundation on 9th Street, some independent, really cool little films. I think that, and I've read that before, that say you're a painter, it doesn't mean you're just a painter. You think in color, but you also think in abstract layers. So to me, and I love writing. Somehow this notion has to come out, and sometimes, oh my God, it's just like they're really, it's not always easy. It's a little bit of a torturous process being an artist, because you feel compelled to do it. I would love to just to be a happy idiot and just like be there on my couch and just like be content with that, but I'm not. And there is a little bit of emotional baggage, of course, to being an artist, and some artists wave that banner loud and proud, and some just kind of keep it a little more hidden. But yeah, sculpture, writing, photography, I think there's a lot of crossover there. So why do you feel that the audience at home should purchase a Nasso painting?
Because for the very same reason is that I'm committed, and I'm not a flash in the pan. It's something that's going to be a lifelong endeavor for me. And if you buy one of my paintings as a marker, it'll just mark a certain point in my career, and they create a process. I'm not going away anytime soon. So aside from the fact that they're very transformative pieces, I mean, if you put one of my paintings in your house, penthouse, whatever situation you want to put it in, if you go to my website and check out the mise en scene, which my web designer Sean Beam did a great job producing, by the way, you can see these large paintings. They're 4x5, some of them are diptychs, what they do to a room. The scale, the depth, the lushness, the dynamic qualities that they possess, boom, they transform rooms, okay? They just don't sit there. That in itself should be enough reason for you to buy one of my paintings. But aside from that, aside from the obvious, this is a long-term deal for me. I'm not going away tomorrow, next year, or even 5 years from now, unless I get hit by some cow crossing the road. So that, I think pretty much, and again, if you, I know I'm rambling here, but if you place value, I mean, you could buy Coco Chanel pearls for $1,000, $2,000, fleeting fashion, whatever. My pieces are unique. They have their own ID, their own little DNA. So I think they're more pertinent as far as a purchase. But that's just my opinion.
Now, one thing I do notice, a lot of artists are very intimidated by such large-scale canvases, and you seem to be fearless when it comes to the large canvas.
Well, hovering over 6'3" myself and being a man of a certain proportion and stature, I can't help myself. I swear. I mean, people have told me, if you just painted smaller, I could fit it into my... I'm like, you know what? Go someplace else. That's not me. I attack paintings. I would use 2, 3, 4 in a row if I could. I mean, to express myself. To me, the more space, the better. It just lends itself to the scale that I want. the scale that my art demands, basically. Why shortchange yourself and try to go small? I can't. It goes against my nature.
Well, like I said, I definitely agree. They are beautiful. They are statement pieces, and they definitely
They are
add to
statement
a
pieces.
room.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Nasso. It was
Jocelyn,
very
it's a
nice
pleasure.
speaking with you.
Yes. We should do this again soon sometime.
Definitely. And thank you all for tuning in.
Bye-bye.